Abanawa Shabashamaya Kwadash Haya Shamka Yahawa Malakwat Kathaba'a Ratazaka Haya Aisha Ba'arataza Kawahaya Bashamayam Nathan Lanawa Lakam Kal Yawam Wasalat Noah Khawabwath Nawa Kasalat Noah Khawabwath Yanawa Wala Athabiya Anawa Banasayawan Abal Kawashay Nawa Mayan Kalray Wala Athabiya Anawa Banasayawan Abal Kawashay Nawa Mayan Ray Kayalaka Hamalakwaf Waha'ala Wakalthaba'arath La Aywalam Yan Aman Yahawa Ra'aya La Akasar Bana'awath La Sha'a Yerab Yataza Naya Almayam Manakwad Yanahal Naya Napasya Yasawabab Yanak Naya Bama ay galyam Tazadakwa Lama ay Shamwa Kaya Shabatka Wamasainatka Hama Yanakamnaya Vairak Lapanya Shalkan Basanta Basamanra Asya Vairak Lapanya Shalkan Lakan Lapanya Kalzraya Wasad, Babayatka, La Araka, Yawamya, Laiwalamya, Aman, Fawada, Yahawa, Basham, Yahawashai, Aman.
Clap your hands, do your dance, stomp your feet, raise them while your hair. Clap your hands, do your dance, celebrate, raise your Howard's name. This is not a sad song, not a mad song either. I know it's been hard on you lately. Just take a breather. Tell God thank you. He gave you everything you have. Rest as life. We should be there. We should be there. Grace is this life, what a gift. He's been lifting our heads, trying to wake us up to the truth, through the trials, through the storms, through the tears. Every heartbeat's a reason, every moment a test in its season. Rise up.
Shalom, shalom, everybody. What's going on? What's going on? Peace and blessings to everybody listening. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, the supreme intellect of the universe. And I do so in the name of his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, whose real name is Yahweh Shai, I should say. I want to give all praise and honor to the Most High for allowing us to gather again for another week to go over the scriptures and also to celebrate or commemorate a very, very important day in Israelite history, right? So I'm glad you brothers and sisters are here. Shout out to everybody that's watching us on our YouTube platforms, Maccabees TV, as well as the Lions of Israel class. Guys, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, please. Also hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time we go live. I'm going to make the announcement a little bit later, but for those that are here now, we're going to go live again today. I want to say around 5 o'clock. Let me just double check real quick. Let me bring the flyer up. So this afternoon at about 5 o'clock.
Salaki, preset 7.
7 o'clock, Salaki, yes. See, the flyer says 7 o'clock this evening. That's Eastern Standard Time, by the way, guys. 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, by the way. We're going to be going live again. So you guys definitely want to hit the notification bell so you guys can be notified every time that we go live. I want to shout out my Clubhouse family as well. We have both rooms open on Clubhouse. I'm seeing a red bar on my phone for some reason. So that usually means the audio is not the greatest. But by now, for those of you that come every week, you already know how we do it. The link is at the top of the room, so you guys can come over to YouTube and you can listen to the lesson over on YouTube and you can catch the PowerPoint lesson, right? So without further ado, I'm going to pass the floor over to Elder Zahab if he wants to say a couple of words to open up, and then we'll get started.
Hey, shalom, shalom. All praise to the Most High. Yeah, I just want to say a Shabbat to the family. All right. Hey, brothers and sisters, keep one another in prayer, right? Because, this is the proving season, and we all go through things, right? Some brothers and sisters internalize things. Some brothers and sisters, they, rightfully so, they reach out and they ask for help. But at the bottom line, at the end of the day is we all go through something. So just keep one another in prayer, right? Prayer of the righteous availeth much. So that's it.
All praise to the Most High for that. Okay, brothers and sisters, without any further ado, we're going to get today's class started. Today's class is just going to be an introduction to the Feast of Dedication, because as we mentioned, Elder Zahab is going to go live a little bit later, and he's going to actually teach the entire lesson. So I kind of just wanted to come today and touch on a few things historically. We can look at a few things and we can learn a few things historically, and it kind of ties into a lot of the arguments that are being going on in the community for the last couple of weeks, let's say the last month. Some of the things that people are arguing about can actually be answered if brothers and sisters just know some history. That's it. It's not really that hard. So we're going to kind of tackle it from that particular vantage point. We're going to have a little conversation about what took place leading up to Alexander and his reign, which led up to Antiochus IV and what he did to Israel, how they desecrated the temple. We're going to kind of go down that timeline today of the history leading up to the Feast of Dedication. And then again today at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Elder Zahab will pick it up from there, and he'll actually go over the entire lesson in its totality, all right? So today's lesson says, celebrate with us the Maccabees and the Feast of Dedication. I want to start off by reading a scripture. This is the book of Job, chapter 8, verse 8. It says, for inquire. The word inquire is Old English for to ask. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age. What is the former age? Your history. And prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. If you don't know your history, as they say colloquially, then you don't know your future. If you don't know your past, then you can't navigate the present, because the past teaches you things. Sometimes the past will teach you what to do when certain situations arises, right? And sometimes the past or history will teach you what not to do. When you read the book of Lamentations, chapter 2, the Bible says that our wise men, our leaders, have not discovered the causes of our banishment. I'm kind of paraphrasing it. In other words, those that are in positions of leadership, which a lot of them were given to us by Esau. Esau gave us our leaders. Our leaders are always chosen for us. And they tend to be always entertainers and actors and sports people, so forth and so on, that don't know anything about anything. And it was the same thing going all the way back to the 60s. Malcolm X complained about the same thing back then, right? And the people that we're given as our leaders that are handpicked never can tell us why we're in the conditions that we're in. Why are so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans at the bottom? And no matter what we do, and no matter how much we try to come together, no matter what we put our hand to, we always end up on the bottom, staying on the bottom with these other nations putting their foot on our neck. And so we internalize the fact that maybe we as a people, we're just cursed. We are not cursed. We are under curses. We are under judgments for our actions, but we as a people are not cursed, because even in our low estate, all the other nations emulate us and imitate us. So it's one of those things when you look at it, like everybody imitates us. Everybody wants to be black until it's time to be black. You want to braid your hair. You want to do rap music. You want to dance like we do. You want to do everything that we do until it's time to be black. And all of a sudden you're not black. You know what I'm saying? That's how there's a spirit behind that. And our leaders have not been able to figure that out because they're not leaders at all. So the Bible teaches us to inquire about the past and learn from the past. Things that we should do and things that we shouldn't do. That's what the Bible teaches us. So one of the things that we're going to learn today, and we learn this every year over and over, is that our holy days, our set-apart days have significance. There's no set-apart day on the Hebrew calendar that's folly. It has no meaning. All of our days have meanings. When it comes to the so-called white man, because we're in America, the majority of people listening to this broadcast is in America, and some of our folks are in England. I know a lot of y'all in England listen as well, right? Most of the days that we have are folly. That's what it is. Let's just call it what it is. Christmas is folly when you strip back the layers. Easter is folly when you strip back the layers. Valentine's Day is folly. I'm sorry, sisters, when you strip back the layers. Sweetest Day that you guys have in the South is folly. Easter is folly. Thanksgiving is folly. These days have no real meaning. The only day on the calendar that I can think about, days that I can think about that have some meaning, even though they don't really mean anything to us as Israelites, will be the 4th of July. We already know what that is, independence, right? It will be Memorial Day that celebrates those that died in wars. Those days have meanings for the most part, but and some of our people serve in the American military, right? So it does have meaning to us to a degree. If you have a family member that's in the military, or maybe you've lost a family member in the military, it means something to you. But the totality of days on the calendar really are meaningless. And most of them go back to pagan festivals of antiquity. But our calendar, our days all mean something. And in many cases, it was the Most High showing favor to us over the other nations. That's what Purim is, ain't it? That's what Passover is, ain't it? And the Feast of Dedication is the same. Everybody got it? So this is what we're going to be learning about today. Now, for those of you guys that are looking at the screen, you guys can see that I have a PowerPoint. A screenshot. I'm going to show you guys something. And as I said, I'm not really delving deep into dedication because Sahab is going to do that later. I'm kind of just going around the layers of it and teaching you guys a little bit of history today, mixed in with the scriptures. So for those of you guys that's looking at the PowerPoint, I have something on the screen called the Catacombs of Damatilia. The Catacombs of Damatilia. For those that don't know, the catacombs are underground meeting places, places of worship, and even some burial places of 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and maybe even 4th century Christians. When I say Christians, I'm talking about Jews that were followers of Christ. Hamashiach Yahushai. A lot of times they were being persecuted, and so they would go out and hide in what's called catacombs, which are basically caves and caverns underneath the city of Rome and other places. You guys can actually go to see some of these catacombs if you ever go to Italy, right? The problem is that some of the catacombs, they don't let you in, and there are reasons why. I'm going to show you guys that, right? Real quick. So this is the history of the catacombs of Damatilia. I'm not going to read all this. It's not really important. So I have this book in my possession. It's called The Catacombs, Life and Death in Early Christianity by James Stevenson. You guys can see that. When you come here to page number 53, you guys can see that it says here, I know it's kind of small. Let me go ahead and let me remove the banner because I know the banner is probably obstructing your view. I've been doing a lot better with that lately, guys. I've been remembering to get rid of it. I know sometimes you guys can't see things. Nobody bothers to tell me, you know. It's when I go back and I look at the PowerPoint, I'm like, shoot, they couldn't see. But anyway, let's come back. So you guys are seeing that this is page 53. That's Damatilia, right? That's Damatilia. That's the catacombs we just saw here, right? And you guys can see it's located in Rome, Italy, right? So this is the catacomb of Damatilia, and we want to focus on figure number 53, which they say is Job. You guys can see that right there. Figure 53 is Job, right? So let's go into the next slide. And when you look at the book, you guys can see that's Job right there, and they got him as being black. Does everybody see that? There's no way that the Christian apologists can say that we just make stuff up. Oh, you black Israelites, you try to make everybody black, but this doesn't lie. This doesn't lie. Those first, second, and third century Christians that were in these catacombs are leaving images behind like this. You got to argue with them, not us. That's why we teach demonstration beats conversation. So this is the man that said what he said in Job chapter 8, verse 8, for us to inquire, to ask about the former age and to prepare ourselves for the search of our fathers. That's the prophet Job. And by the way, when you come and you look at this in the Hebrew, right, the Hebrew word there is shakar, right? Now, shakar does have a metaphoric meaning in terms of being black, not physically black, but it has a metaphoric meaning, but it also has a literal meaning as well, literally to be black of skin. And when the people that put together these images in the catacombs that were a lot closer to the writings than we are today, they took the black to mean literal, and that's the images that they created. So when the Christian apologists come in to argue, you ain't got to argue with me, you got to argue with this book. And by the way, your white brethren put together, not me. Joe wanted to say that, right? Now, let's move on.
Hold on, I'm confused. I got a question. I thought they said Job was an Edomite priest with the slow people in the back.
That's a great observation. That's a no. You were in the spirit. They said Job is an Edomite, right? Y'all all heard that. Meanwhile, in books like this, they got Job as being black. So something is wrong. Something is wrong. That's why we teach demonstration beats conversation. I don't argue with people. And again, you guys hear me say this repeatedly. This is what inspired me to start putting these lessons together in PowerPoint so I can demonstrate what we teach, because demonstration is what builds you guys' faith up. I can sit here and verbally tell you.
No, Salaki.
I can sit here and verbally tell you guys this person was black, that person was black, this book says it, that book says it. And many of you brothers and sisters will believe what I'm saying, but that's the problem that we're having now, even in Israel as we speak. A lot of brothers and sisters are not studying. And then when somebody comes and they make a statement, you don't know what to believe anymore. You're confused because you don't study. So I took the burden of putting together over 400. Let me stop sharing my screen first. Let me show you guys something. Because y'all be thinking I'm kidding or I'm making stuff up. I'm gonna show you something. I'm gonna give it right to you, Zahab. You guys are looking at, you have a sneak peek into my folder. This is my folder for my PowerPoints, my external hard drive. I want you guys to look at this number right here in the bottom right-hand corner, bottom left-hand corner where the arrow is. Y'all see that number 451? You see that number 451? That is 451 PowerPoints that I have. 451. All of these. All of these. Right? I might have to do an academy to teach people how to make PowerPoints because this is a lot of work. I've been doing it since 2019. Right? To make it easier for you, brothers and sisters. Right before the class started, I'm giving you guys all the sneak peeks. Right before the class started, my newest PowerPoint I'm working on is a PowerPoint called Did King Solomon Steal or Plagiarize the Book of Proverbs? Because that's what the Commissions teach. The niggas that's into Kemet, they teach that the book of Proverbs was stolen. The book of Proverbs was stolen from Egypt. If somebody comes and asks you that at camp, what you gonna say? You probably be stuck. I'm gonna help y'all understand how to debunk that because that's some of the dumbest stuff ever, and it's not hard to debunk. But anyway, back to what we're saying. We ain't gonna get too far off the topic, right? So coming back here. Matter of fact, Zahab, you said you wanted to say something, so go ahead first.
No, I was just saying that just be careful, brothers and sisters, when you're online, you're on Facebook and different social media, because being online is like being in the streets, right? You interact with different people, and different people have different ideologies and different teachings and different doctrines. So just, be mindful of that. People say, oh, well, where you get that idea Job is an Edomite? Are you tripping? No, that is a doctrine that is being taught out there. You go online, people say that. I'm not going to say who. Certain camps, they teach that, yeah, Job is an Edomite. So, just be mindful. And you see the elders showing you images from pictures that were, taken in the catacombs, from renderings and all that, way before this Hebrew Israelite thing even came about. So just be aware, brothers and sisters. Don't get tossed to and fro whenever you see stuff like that on the internet.
And that will be another class that I'm going to teach, and maybe not this upcoming academy, but maybe the one at the end of 2026. I'm going to teach you guys that doctrine of Job being an Edomite comes from the Septuagint. Extra verses in the Septuagint that do not appear in any of our English Bibles. The problem with that, brothers and sisters, is the Septuagint that we have today is not the Septuagint that they had in antiquity. It has been absolutely rewritten. There's interpolations in there. If you don't know what an interpolation is, that means that people went in there and added stuff hundreds of years later. All that stuff. There's a lot of forgeries and not plagiarism. There's a lot of forgeries and interpolations in our current Septuagint that you can go on Amazon and buy. And I'm going to show you guys that. So that doctrine is fake. That's why your English Bibles do not have those extra verses. That's why. Because these scholars and the translators understood that. Now we're way off the beaten path, so I'm going to keep going. It's all good. Sometimes these things need to come out because somebody needed to hear that. All right, we're in 1 Kings chapter 11. We're going to start from verse number 1. It says, But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughters of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, Ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. So the exact thing that the Lord told Israel not to do, Solomon did that. Because Solomon was a ladies' man. Solomon struggled with lust. I remember the elders always saying, a lot of brothers don't really understand this. The elders used to always say it. There are women in this world. I don't give a damn how knowledgeable you are. I don't give a damn how stoic you are. I don't give a damn about none of that stuff. There is a woman in creation or two that will take you off the zone if you let her in your life. She'll take you off the zone if you let her in your life. That's a fact. One of the greatest among us outside of Yahushua, Solomon, that's what he did. The Lord didn't even allow his father to build a temple. The Lord allowed him to build a temple. When you read 1 Kings chapter 4, the Most High said Solomon was wiser than everybody. He was smarter than everybody. So if anybody should not have did this, it was supposed to be him. But the Most High said, there's a woman that could take any man down. It's a fact. That's why, now I'm way off the beaten path. That's why the FBI has a program called a honeypot or a honey trap. Do you brothers know what that is? They recruit some of the best looking and finest women. First of all, they study you. They study you to see what type of women you like. And now with the advent of technology, they can just watch what you're looking at on the computer. They can watch what you're looking at on your phones. And they see what you brothers are looking at on Instagram. They see all the Instagram models that you like in their pictures and everything and all this other stuff that I be seeing brothers do too. I'm like, don't brothers know that when you like a picture, if I follow you and you follow me, I'm gonna see it? I be having a laugh to my, I'm gonna see it. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm way off the path.
Brothers playing in the snow.
Playing in the snow. Brothers be taking trips to China. Brothers be doing everything, right? But the point is that, but it's understandable because it's innate within man. You see what I'm saying? And so the FBI has something called a honey trap where they don't come in and just, they'll get a woman to take you down. They'll get a woman to take you down. And they will recruit some of the best looking, finest women, put them women in the damn gym, get them in shape, whatever, like whip them in shape, and then come. And you look in the mirror and you know that normally you don't attract that type of woman, nigga. You know that. You know you don't get broads like that. And here she comes. Listen, she was sent to set you up. Khalid Muhammad, I believe, the one that was with the Nation of Islam, his wife was a honey trap. I believe that 100%. I believe 100%. I believe Kevin Samuels got caught by a honey trap. I don't believe his death was natural. What he was telling y'all online was one thing, but what he was doing in his private life and the things he liked, they was watching him. Because it's funny how he dies with a female that's right there. That's every type of female he always talked about that he liked. That's how it goes. But guess what? That's as ancient as Solomon. It's the same thing. Let's keep reading. Verse number 3. And he had 700 wives. How does a man have time for that many women? It's crazy. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. That's why Paul in the New Testament is not making it law, but he's giving advice. If a man has a wife and he desires the office of a bishop or a deacon, you should be the husband of one wife. Or really, the one in the New Testament means meaning you have to be married to at least one woman, right? But Paul said, if you really want to do it, you can be like me and have none. So you can devote your life to the ministry. But of course, if you're going to burn, you should get a wife, right? Well, Solomon had many women. I don't know how he had time to have all these women, but he had many women. And that's why his heart was turned away from the Most High. Because with women comes responsibility. They want time. They want your energy. They want your time. They want your attention. They want all that. So you don't have time to be doing the things of the Father if you catering constantly to your woman, much less you have 1,000 of them. Right? Verse 4. For it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. And his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Verse 6, and Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. Verse 7, then did Solomon build a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods. And the Lord was angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned from the Lord God of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice. And he commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods, but he kept not that which the Lord commanded. Wherefore, the Lord said unto Solomon, for as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my commandments and my statutes, which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and I will give it to thy servants. So what I'm showing you, we're following a path here. I'm showing you what Solomon's sin was. Solomon's sin was, he went out and got all these women his heart desired, especially some of the ones that the Most High said don't get, fell in love with them. And you know what happens when a man falls in love with a woman? He'll do anything for her. Anything. So they asked him for the most extreme thing. Build a temple to my gods. and he did it. That was Solomon's sin. Everybody got that? Okay, let's move on. But what Solomon's sin was not, what his sin was not, was keeping a feast of dedication. Because some of these Old Testament only Israelites, I don't know if you guys know this, some of these Old Testament only Israelites will tell you that you are in sin for observing the Feast of Dedication. We clearly just read what Solomon's sin was. Solomon also kept the Feast of Dedication. This was not sin. So if it wasn't sin for him to do it, how is it a sin for us to do it? That doesn't make no sense. This is 2 Chronicles 7, starting from verse number 1. It says, "Now when Solomon had made an end of praying, the fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices, and the glory of the Lord filled the house." Verse 2. "And the priest could not enter into the house of the Lord because the glory of the Lord had filled the Lord's house. And when all the children of Israel saw how fire came down and the glory of the Lord upon the house, they bowed themselves with their faces to the ground upon the pavement and worshiped and praised the Lord, saying, For he is good, for his mercy endureth forever." Verse 4. "Then the king and all the people offered sacrifices before the Lord. And King Solomon offered a sacrifice of 20 and 2,000 oxen and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the people dedicated the house of God." Verse 6. "And the priests waited on their offices, the Levites also with instruments of music of the Lord, which David the king had made to praise the Lord, because his mercy endured forever. When David praised by their ministry, and the priests sounded trumpets before them, and all Israel stood." Verse 7. "Moreover, Solomon hallowed the middle of the court that was before the house of the Lord, for there he offered burnt offerings and the fat of the peace offerings, because the brazen altar which Solomon had made was not able to receive the burnt offerings and the meat offerings and the fat." Verse 8. "Also at the same time Solomon kept the feast 7 days." So the idea of the Maccabees doing a 7-day feast was not something that they just made up. They got it from Solomon. They were literally patterning what they were doing based on what Solomon did. That's it. It's not a sin to do that. We just read where Job said you're supposed to inquire of the former age. That's what they did. They went back and read about what Solomon did, and that's why they did what they did. There is no sin in that. Verse 8 again. "Also at that time, Solomon kept the feast 7 days, and all Israel with him, a very great congregation, from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt." Verse 8. "And in the 8th day they made a solemn assembly, for they kept the dedication of the altar 7 days, and the feast 7 days." So for those of y'all that's following along and looking at the PowerPoint, you guys can see the word for dedication is the word Hanukkah. That's where you get your so-called Hanukkah from. This is not a new idea that the Maccabees did. They were simply inquiring of the former age and applying things that they saw that would be helpful to them in their time. Does everybody see that? Now we're going to fast forward, because we know that the first temple was eventually destroyed, right? We went into captivity under the Babylonians. Then the Babylonian kingdom was superseded by the Medo-Persian Empire, right? And then Cyrus made a decree. Matter of fact, we're going to read it. We are in Ezra chapter 6. We're going to start from verse number 1. It says, "Then Darius, the king, made a decree, and search was made in the house of the rolls, where the treasure was laid up in Babylon. And there was found at Achmetha in the palace, that is the province of the Medes, a roll. And therein was a record thus written: In the first year of Cyrus, the king, the same Cyrus king, made by decree concerning the house of God at Jerusalem. Let the house be builded, and the place where they offered sacrifices, and let the foundations thereof be strongly laid, the height thereof 80 cubits, and the breadth thereof 80 cubits. with 3 rows of great stones and a row of new timber. Let the expenses be given out of the king's house. And also let the golden and silver vessels of the house of God, which Nebuchadnezzar took forth out of the temple, which is at Jerusalem, and brought up unto Babylon, be restored. And brought again unto the temple, which is at Jerusalem, everyone to his place, and placed them in the house of God. Now therefore, Tatnai, governor beyond the river, Shethar-Bozenai, and your companions, the Apharakites, which are beyond the river, be ye far from thence. Let the work of this house of God alone. Let the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews build this house of God in his place. Moreover, I will make a decree that ye shall do to the elders of these Jews for the building of the house of God, that of the king's goods, even of tribute beyond the river, forthwith expenses be given unto these men, that they be not hindered. Verse 9, and that which they have need of, both young bullock and rams and lambs, for the burnt offering of the God of heaven, wheat, salt, wine, and oil, according to the appointment of the priests, which are at Jerusalem, let it be given to them day by day without fail. This mirrors, when you go back and you read the book of Chronicles, this kind of mirrors what happened when Solomon was building his temple. You had other nations that helped and assisted and gave him things. They gave him things in order for the temple to be built. You got it? You're kind of seeing the same thing happening again when the temple is being rebuilt the second time, right? This is the second temple. Verse 10, that they may offer sacrifices of sweet savors unto the God of heaven and pray for the life of the king and his sons. Verse 11, also, I made a decree that whosoever shall alter this word, let timber be pulled down from his house, and being set up, let him be hanged thereon, and let his house be made a dunghill for this. So they didn't want, the Most High put the spirit on these Persian kings to allow us to rebuild the temple, and they didn't want nobody interfering with it. Nobody interfering with it. Because there were people that were trying to interfere with it. Verse 12, and the God that have caused his name to dwell there, destroy all kings and peoples that shall put to their hand to alter and destroy this house of God, which is at Jerusalem. I, Darius, have made a decree, let it be done with speed. Then Tatnai, governor on this side, the river Shethar-Bozenai, and his companions, according to that which Darius the king had sent, so they did speedily. Verse 14, and the elders of the Jews builded, and they prospered through the prophesying of Haggai the prophet and Zechariah the son of Iddo. And they builded and finished it according to the commandment of the God of Israel, and according to the commandment of Cyrus and Darius and Xerxes, king of Persia. And this house was finished on the 3rd day of the month Adar, which was in the 6th year of the reign of Darius the king. And the children of Israel, the priests and the Levites, and the rest of the children of the captivity, kept the dedication of the house of God with joy. When you guys look up the word for dedication, and I usually, you guys know we build it while we fly. I thought I had this here already, but I didn't. When you look up the word dedication, it's the word Hanukkah again. So we see the example with Solomon when he built the temple the first time. They kept the feast of dedication for the temple. When this temple was built, again, this is the second temple, there's a feast of dedication. So we see the same thing happening over and over again. So during the time of the Maccabees, the temple was not destroyed, but it was desecrated by these other nations. So when the temple got back into our control, they Job 8:8. They went and searched their records of what their fathers would do. And the best example they could find is that every time the temple was restored, when it was built, there was a dedication. When it was rebuilt, there was a dedication. Now we have it in our possession again. We're going to do a dedication like Solomon and them did. and like these brothers did in the book of Ezra. This is what we're going to do. Everybody with me so far? Okay. And you see the same thing in Nehemiah chapter 12, verse 27. We see the word for dedication there. It's Hanukkah again. So this is not a new concept. Hamashiach Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus Christ, also observed the Feast of Dedication. This is John chapter 10, verses 22 and 23. And it was at Jerusalem, the Feast of Dedication, and it was winter, and Jesus, Yahushua, walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. So Solomon's porch was the name of two porches associated with the temple in Jerusalem. The original temple constructed by Solomon is described in 1 Kings. As for the house which Solomon built for the Lord, its length was 60 cubits, and the width 20 cubits, and the height 30 cubits. The porch in front of the nave of the house was 20 cubits in length, corresponding to the width of the house, and its depth along the front of the house was 10 cubits, right? The reconstructed temple was later modified by King Herod. So when it speaks about the reconstructed temple, we just went over that history. Solomon built the first temple. The Babylonians destroyed it. Under the Persians, we were allowed to go back and build the second temple. So this is the reconstructed temple that this is talking about. The reconstructed temple was later modified by King Herod. So all the way from the time that we had the second temple built, even during the time of Herod, there were modifications constantly being done on the temple. There was constant modifications on it. Herod made some modifications as well. The reconstructed temple was later modified by King Herod, and it included also an area also known as Solomon's porch. This structure was on the east side of the temple and was covered with a roof, thus providing more protection from the weather than the temple courtyards, right? Because what you have to understand now, this is us putting ourselves into the story and not reading it like a novel, not reading it like a religious book. The Bible tells you it's winter. You have to delve into that. So what happened was they also built a portico or a porch that was kind of covered because it was winter and the weather was bad. During the time of dedication in Israel, the weather's bad. This is generally the cold and rainy season in Israel. That's why the turnout for the Feast of Dedication was never that of Passover, because Passover is in the spring, it's warm. Jerusalem gets cold in the winter. So now let's look at this map, because some of you brothers and sisters didn't know that, right? Jerusalem is about 2,540 feet above sea level. So these are all the famous mountains. I ain't gonna say all, but these are many of the famous mountains in Israel, right? So you have Mount Zion, you have Mount Moriah, you have the Mount of Olives, you have Mount Gerizim, you have Mount Ebal, you have Mount Gilboa, you have Mount Tabor. And Jerusalem, its height is right up here with some of these mountains. As opposed, as you guys can see with this map, as Jericho that's down here. So as you go up into the mountains, what happens? It gets colder. So this is the reason why Yahushua walked in Solomon's porch, because the weather generally in Jerusalem at that time was not good. It was cold and it was rainy. All right, everybody got that? Okay.
What is that mountain on the top right, priest? The sign was blocking. Is that Mount Hermon?
Yeah, Mount Hermon. Yeah,
Okay,
the logo is. All right. So, all right, let's go to the next slide. All right, you know what I'm going to do? Since you said that, I'm going to remove our logo as well so that there's nothing blocking really. So I want everybody to be able to see what it is that we're showing. So I'm going to take the logo off for now as well. Okay. Where am I? All right. Now I showed you guys this stuff for a reason. Now I'm kind of going to segue into something. Let's come back here real quick. I want to come back here for a second, real quick. There was something else I wanted to show you guys. And I hope you guys can see it. Hope you guys can see it. All right. As a matter of fact, you know what? I think it's in future slides coming up. So you know what? I'm going to wait. I want to go to the book of Amos chapter 7. We're going to read verses 7 and 8. We have to be straight first. And I think this is something that's lost on brothers lately. But we have to be straight first. I'm going to explain to you guys what I mean by that. Let's read Amos chapter 7, verses 7 and 8. It says, "Thus he showed me, and behold, the Lord stood upon a wall made by a plumb line, with a plumb line in his hand." What is a plumb line? And what is it used for? A plumb line is used to establish a true vertical line to check if something is perfectly straight. So a plumb line is used in construction by carpenters, construction workers, to ensure that walls, beams, and other structures are plumb, meaning they're perfectly vertical. That is the physical understanding of this, right? Because we're talking about the temple. The spiritual or esoteric understanding of this is that the Bible teaches us we're the temple. Your body's the temple. So the same way that a plumb line would be used to make sure a wall or a beam is perfectly straight in its original form, right? In this outward, if you go esoterically and we're a temple, what is you measure to make sure that we're perfectly straight? I think everybody knows the Bible. The Bible. The Bible is our plumb line to make sure that we are perfectly straight. And we, the temple, are measured against it. Everybody following along? This is Amos 7, verse 7 again. It says, "Thus he showed me, and behold, the Lord stood upon a wall made by a plumb line, with a plumb line in his hand." Verse 8, "And the Lord said unto me, Amos, what seest thou? And I said, a plumb line. Then said the Lord, behold, I will set a plumb line in the midst of my people Israel." What is that plumb line? The Bible. We're being measured against, and to be more specific, the plumb line is the law. That's what measures whether we're crooked or straight. That plumb line would also extend to Yahushua, because we're following Yahushua's example, because Yahushua was perfectly straight. So if you want to know how to do the law, the plumb line, if you want to know how to do the law perfectly, you follow Yahushua's example. That's how you're measured. The Most High said he will be a plumb line in the midst of Israel, meaning the canon of the Bible is set before us. The law is set before to measure Israel, not the other nations. That's the purpose of the plumb line. Now, the same idea is present in Revelation chapter 11, just different verbiage. Let's read it. This is Revelation chapter 11, verse 1. It says, "And there was given me a reed like unto a rod. And the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of God." What is the temple of God? We are the temple of God. The Bible tells you that. "And the altar, and them that worship therein." So what is used to measure us? If we're the temple, what is used to measure us? It is the canon. What is the canon? The canon is a measuring rod. So this reed like unto a rod is talking about the Bible, the scriptures. It's talking about the body of sacred scriptures. This is what's used to measure the people. So John was instructed to measure the people because we are a representation of the temple. This is Ephesians chapter 4, verse 13. It says, till we all come into the unity of the faith and the knowledge of the Son of God, unto man, just like the plumb line. The wall has to be perfectly straight. Well, man has to be perfectly straight as well. Till we all come into the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, Yahushua, because Yahushua is the example of being perfectly straight. Everybody got that? So let's come back. I want you guys to see something. Revelations 11, verse 1 again. And there was given unto me a reed like unto a rod. Matter of fact, let me do this. I want to make sure I don't want to lose the point. I have a slide in between. So I'm going to duplicate the slide, boom, and I'm going to bring it right here. Okay, let's get it. It's Revelation chapter 11, verse 1 again. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod. We know that reed like unto a rod is talking about something that would measure the people. That's the Bible. And the angel stood saying, rise and measure the temple of God and the altar and them that worship there. And the people that's inside the temple, I want you to teach them. Because that's what it is. Teach them. Verse 2. But the court, which is without the temple, leave out and measure it not. What does it mean to measure? To teach them. For it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot 40 and 2 months. What are we seeing? John is using symbolism from Herod's temple. You guys can see this right here. This is Herod's temple that he was making improvements on, that was built during the time of Ezra and Nehemiah and them. He's making improvements on it. And John is using the symbolism of the temple. If you look at the symbolism of the temple, what do you have? On the outside of the temple, this is as far as the Gentiles, the natural Gentiles, the non-Israelites, this is as far as they could go. They were not allowed in here. Only Israel was allowed in here. Only Israel was allowed in here. That's why verse 1 says, measure the temple and the altar and them that worship therein. The people that were allowed inside the temple was the Jews. We were allowed inside. The Gentiles were not. John is using that same symbolism here in Revelations 11, verse 2. But the court which is without the temple, leave out and measure it not. It's not. How do we go to teach the other nations and bring them in when Israel is not gathered yet? We already know the other nations are going to learn. That's Isaiah chapter 2, Isaiah 56, Micah 4, Zechariah 14. We already know the other nations are going to learn. But the impetus, the mission is to measure Israel first. We have to measure up and be made straight first. Because it's going to be our responsibility to teach the other nations. We're going to circumvent going around and gathering Israel and teaching them to bring in other nations before Israel is even gathered. That's not the idea. Verse 2 again. But the court which is without the temple, that's what the Gentiles were, leave out and measure it not. That doesn't mean if you're at camp teaching and another nation comes up and asks you questions about the Bible that you can't answer. That's not what it's saying. You can answer anybody's question. You could teach anybody. But that's not supposed to be your mission. That's not supposed to be your priority. Your priority is your people. This is what we're sent forth to do, to gather Israel through our teachings. And if some other nations learn along the way, all praises. But the mission is not to go out there and gather them, to put an emphasis on them. That's what the book is showing you. I'm going to stop there for a second. I want to make sure. Is everybody clear about that? If what I just showed you guys makes sense, I want y'all to put 1 in the chat. If it didn't make sense, you put 2. Okay, I don't need you to agree with me, but the book is pretty clear. The book is pretty clear. We're putting the cart before the horse. We're going out to gather Gentiles before we gather Israel. That's crazy. You're putting the cart before the horse. That makes no sense. Anyway, let's come on and go back to the lesson. That was my rant for today, guys. All right. Finally, guys, we get to talk about the Maccabees. People thought I would never get here. Okay. This is 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chetam, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. There's a lot to unpack in that first verse, a lot of history. The first thing I did was I added in parentheses which Darius it was, because there was more than one. As you guys can see looking at the PowerPoint, there was more than one. So I gave you guys which one it was. There were kings before Cyrus as well, but a lot of them were, well, I should say they were king before Cyrus. What I meant to say was that there were some co-regents early on in the Persian kingdom. There was some co-regents, just like in Egypt. There were co-regents, just like in Rome. When Rome was a republic, there were co-regents. And then at the time of Julius Caesar, Rome switched from being a republic to being an empire, where you had one supreme ruler, that was Caesar. So a lot of ancient kingdoms, they were like that, right? Anyway, let's unpack some of this history in the first verse. Let's go to the next slide. So it says that Alexander was the first over Greece, right? And also it says that Alexander came out of the land of Chetam. So let's unpack some of that stuff really quickly. First, let's deal with this thing about him coming from the land of Chetam, right? So I went to the Jewish Encyclopedia, and I'm under the entry for Cyprus. Cyprus, the large island in the easternmost basin of the Mediterranean, probably deriving its name from the cypress flower, the Hebrew appellation of which is Kapar, right? Josephus states that the island called Kaparyath, or as they would say Cyprus in English, in Hebrew was named after the city of Kition or Kiton. Here's the point. Nevertheless, the term Kittim, okay, indicates that Kittim signified all the islands and coasts of the West. And according to 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1, which is what we're reading, it also included Macedonia. It also included Macedonia. So Macedonia in ancient times would be considered part of the land of Chetam. Right? Everybody got that? If you're not following along, it'll make sense in a minute. Don't worry. I'm slow walking it. Now, the next thing I want you guys to notice from this map is Macedonia is to the north. These are pretty much the Greek islands that they were talking about. That would be considered Chetam. But notice Macedonia is all the way here to the north. You guys see that? It's all the way up here. Now, another thing, and this is not really important, at this time, all these different places were considered Greece. And guess what? All these people had their own dialect of Greek. They didn't all speak the exact same Greek. Just like you have Scottish people that speak English, right? You have Australian people. Of course, you have people from England that speak English. You have American people that speak English. You have Canadian people that speak English. Then you have people in the Caribbean that they call West Indians. They speak a broken form of English. It's all English, but it splits itself down into, and it metastasizes itself into different dialects of English to a degree. Well, Greek is the same. Not only were these people all split up amongst themselves, they all spoke their own version of Greek. Right? And so now, let's deal with this. This is a map of classical Greece. Classical Greece, meaning before Alexander, consisted of Greek city-states. These Greek city-states had a loose confederacy where they would unite to fight against the Persians. They would do that. But outside of that, they were divided and everything else. They didn't speak the same Greek. I just showed you guys that. They spoke different dialects of it. And they had their own alliances too within themselves. They would all come together to fight against the Persians. But outside of that, they had cliques, right? You have the Delian League, you had the Athenian League, you have the Achaean League, you have the Peloponnesian League, you have the Corinthian League, and you have the Hellenic League. Now, priest, what is all this? This is like really confusing. This is the point. I'm bringing it all together for you. Greece was divided against itself. They were not unified. What the scripture is showing you is Alexander was not the first king over Greece, because all these different Greek city-states, they had their own kings. I'm going to show you guys that. Alexander and his father Philip were the ones that brought everybody together. That's what the Bible is telling you. They're the ones that brought all this messy stuff together. All these different leagues, they were divided against themselves. He brought everybody together. That's what he did. This is the list of the kings of Sparta. So when it says Alexander was the first king over Greece, how could that be when Sparta had its own kings? He was the first over a united Greece, where he brought all these different factions together. That's what the Bible is telling you. These are the kings of Thebes. They had their own kings. So the Bible is not wrong. The Bible is being concise. So what happened, to make a long story short, and I have a whole lesson on this, you had something called the Peloponnesian Wars. The Peloponnesian Wars, where you had all these different Greek city-states, they were fighting each other. The Macedonians at the top, they picked the winning side. That's what they did. They were very, like white people are, they were very strategic. They watched people take sides during the Peloponnesian War, and they picked the side that they knew was going to win. A lot of these people that you're looking at in these different Greek city-states, a lot of them were melanated people. And what happened was, after the Peloponnesian War, Philip and Alexander united all of these different city-states under something called the Hellenic League. They took over. Because these two sides were at war, and a lot of them were weakened by the war, that gave Esau, like always, to be able to come in and creep in and take over. That's how it happened. Everybody following along? That's the missing piece of history that a lot of people don't know. The white man displaced and pushed out a lot of the melanated people out of these areas and took over. The same way he did it to the Native Americans. It's not that hard. The same way he did to the Aboriginals of Australia. The same way he did to the Aboriginals of Hawaii. Right? Everywhere he goes, this is what he does. He's always done this. These Macedonians are Edomites that picked the winning side after the Peloponnesian War and took over. And those that don't know this missing piece of history, that's why they think the white man is Japhet, because the white man is living in the lands that were once inhabited by Japhet, but that's because he came in and he absorbed all these kingdoms under him and took over. The same way the white man went into Egypt and took over, didn't he? A lot of those Ptolemies sat as pharaohs. This is what Esau does. So when the Bible says he was the first over Greece, he wasn't the first king over these Greek people. They were the first to unite everybody under the Hellenic League that was led by Philip of Macedonia and Alexander. And this is the point in history where the Bible starts to tell a story. There's a history before this. The history before this is the Peloponnesian Wars. Now it makes more sense why it says that Alexander was the first over Greece. Let's continue. And another thing that we see too, just out of, I thought this was interesting, right? A lot of things that the Greeks do, they stole from Egypt. So in Egypt, you have something called the Egyptian Kings List, and they're all different. They all don't say the same thing. Everybody wants to criticize the Bible and say the Bible is contradictory. Then as soon as we start delving into their stuff, we're like, well, wait a minute. Y'all stuff is contradictory too. In that case, if you want to be honest, right? None of the Egyptian Kings List say the same thing. But what I want to show you guys is that the Greeks would follow and copy a lot of stuff from Egypt, right? So this is one of the Egyptian Kings Lists. It's the Turin Papyrus, or the Turin Kings List, right? Let me just put an arrow there so it can draw eyes to it the next time I do this presentation. Y'all bear with me. Y'all know I've built it while I fly. It's all good. So this is the Turin's Kings List, also known as the Turin Papyrus, right? Okay. What you guys will notice is that their Kings List starts with their gods. Ra's a god. The Turin Papyrus lists Ra as the first pharaoh of Egypt. They literally have their gods, so-called, on their Kings List. God, Ra, Geb, Osiris, Set, Horus, Thoth, Ma'at. They literally put those gods with the animal heads and everything. Those were the first pharaohs of Egypt, according to the Turin Papyrus. When the Greeks came into power, they were doing the same thing. A lot of these ones that you guys are seeing right here, a lot of these are their gods. Copying off of Egypt. Let's see. It's not until you come right here, this one right here, it says the number 11. This is actually the first time it's a human being. Menes, also known as the damn, why is it slipping me now? He has another name in history as well. It's slipping me right now. It doesn't really matter. I'm just showing you that the Egyptians copied off of the Greeks copied off of the Egyptians. That's all you guys need to know. It's not that serious. All right. I want to jump over to Daniel chapter 7 real quick. Pick it up from verse number 1. It says, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Verse 2, Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another, right? So this is anthropomorphism. These beasts are kings or kingdoms that will come up and rule in succession of each other. We're going to jump down to verse number 6. It says, and after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given unto it. So this beast that's like a leopard that has 4 wings on his back, this is Alexander and the 4 generals that would take over after he died. Now, this idea of a leopard, because each one of these animals has symbolism in relation to the kingdom that was ruling it. So when you study about Alexander the Great, right, this is actually an image, although it's not well preserved, of Alexander in battle. And you guys will notice his horse has a leopard skin on it, right? You guys can see that right there where the arrow is. It has a leopard skin on it, right? Over here, for those that never saw the movie, I believe this is Colin Farrell playing Alexander in the movies, and his horse has leopard skin on. And Alexander had many heroes, and one of his heroes was the god Dionysus, which is shown here and here, and Dionysus is usually depicted riding a leopard. Everybody see that? So the Bible it's right. It's telling some things, and it's lining up with what we see. So it's correct. All right. Verse 6. It says, and after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. Now, the reason why I'm showing you guys this is that the Bible is being very concise. Alexander had more than 4 generals, guys. He had more than 4 generals. Everybody knows the 4 that the Bible is talking about is Cassander, Lysimachus, Ptolemy, and Seleucus. These are the 4 that the Bible is talking about. But history teaches us there were more than that. You also had another general named Antigonus as well. He's number 5. So if there were 5 generals, why is the Bible only saying 4? Well, the answer is, brothers and sisters, because this right here in the green, right here, this is where Lysimachus had. This dark green right here. This lighter green right here, this is where Seleucus had. This lighter green right here. And then this yellow, this is where Antigonus had. So the map is color coordinated so you guys can see it to make it easy. And this color right here, the purple, this is where Ptolemy had, right? And the pink is where Cassander had. So now we're trying to figure out, why are there 5 generals that the Bible is saying that there's only 4? This is how, brothers and sisters, this is how we do textual criticism. You have to analyze the Bible critically. You can't be afraid of it. So when you do a deeper study of history, you guys will find out that these 2, Seleucus and Antigonus, right here, and the yellow, they went to war. And Antigonus, the yellow guy, lost the war. And so Seleucus absorbed his whole entire kingdom after that battle. And it went from 5 to 4. The Bible skipped that battle and got right to the point. Is everybody following along? That's why Daniel says it was 4. That's why the Apocrypha says it was 4. It's getting to the point. It's not saying that battle didn't happen. It's just getting to the point. If they were to spell out everything about everything that happened, the world could not contain the Bible. It's too many books. There'll be too much to write about. All right. And the battle is called the Battle of Ipsos, in case anybody wants to fact check it, right? It's called the Battle of Ipsos. You guys can look at it yourself. And this is where Antigonus lost. Everybody got it? Okay. So it says right here, by the way, I searched it on the Encyclopedia Britannica, although there's other sources you can use too. It says right here, when Seleucus deployed his elephants as a living wall, Antigonus's own 70-odd elephants had given him a clear edge over rivals in earlier rounds, but Seleucus had 400 animals, and this made the difference as the Allied infantry pressed their advantage in a storm of arrows, slingshots, and other missiles. Antigonus was caught and killed by a javelin. So it went from being 5 to being the 4 that the Bible talks about. The Bible just skipped this battle. No need to talk about it because it has nothing to do with Israel. The Bible is a document talking about Israel. There's no need for us to talk about this battle. This is infighting amongst the white men. Let them fight each other, and we're going to pick up a story where Israel is concerned when there's only 4 generals. Got it? Okay. Now, this is from the Antiquities of the Jews by Flavius Josephus, and the title is called Alexander and the High Priests. I want to read this because this is important. It says, for Alexander, when he saw the multitude at a distance in white garments, while the priest stood clothed with fine linen, and the high priest in purple and scarlet clothing, with his mitre on his head, having the golden plate whereupon the name of God was engraved, he approached by himself and adored that name and first saluted the high priest. So Alexander came and he came to the priests. Let's jump up over here. It says, and when he had said this to Parmenio and had given the high priest his right hand, the priest ran along by him and he came into the city. And when he went into the temple, he offered sacrifice to God according to the high priest's direction and magnificently treated both the high priests and the priests. And when the book of Daniel was showed to him, that's what we just read. And when the book of Daniel was showed to him, wherein Daniel declared that one of the Grecians should destroy the empire of the Persians, he supposed that himself was the person intended. So Alexander said, I'm that guy that the prophecy is talking about. And he was then glad. He dismissed the multitude for the present, but the next day he called them to him and bade them ask what favors they pleased of him. Whereupon the high priest desired that they might enjoy the laws of their forefathers. So they already knew Alexander was going to destroy the Persians, and Israel was under still that we were a vassal kingdom, was subject to the Persians. So if the Greeks are taking over, we're going to be under them, right? So he's given them an opportunity to ask for something. So they're asking him to allow them to still keep their laws. Whereupon the high priest desired that they might enjoy the laws of their forefathers and might pay no tribute on the 7th year. So they already knew Alexander was going to tax the hell out of them, but they asked at least every 7th year if they could skip paying tribute. He granted all they desired, and when they entered and when they entreated him that he would permit the Jews in Babylon and Media to enjoy their own laws also, he willingly promised to do hereafter what they desired. So even the Jews that were living in Babylon and the Jews that were living in Media, they asked that they can keep the laws as well. And he said, yes. So now look at this right here. And when he said to the multitude that if any of them would enlist themselves in his army on this condition, that they should continue under the laws of their forefathers and living according to them, he was willing to take them with him. Many were ready to accompany him. And what is that? What does that show you, brothers and sisters? Just like I've been going over the last month, the Jews were in the Greek army too. The Jews were in the Greek army too. I already have proven the Jews were in the Roman army. We were in the Greek army too. Now, let's look at Daniel chapter 8, verse 21 and 22. It says, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, that's Alexander, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now that being broken, this means when Alexander died, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power, right? Because when Alexander died, you had 4 generals that survived after he died. We already went over this. We had Antigonus also. He was number 5, right? But him and Seleucus went to war, and Seleucus won. And now the Greek kingdom that was once one united empire under Alexander being the first of Greece, the first king of Greece, now after Alexander died, the kingdom is broken again. It's broken into 4 different pieces. And 2 of the primary guys were always fighting each other. That's the Ptolemies and the Seleucids. They were always fighting each other. So they never stood up in the power that Alexander had. They never did. Let's go over to Daniel chapter 11. Also, I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. Verse 2. And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall come up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all. And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. Verse 3. And a mighty king shall stand up, that shall rule with great dominion, and do according to his will. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken, and shall be divided towards the 4 winds of heaven, and not to his posterity. What does the word posterity means? The word posterity means sons. specifically. Your posterity is your children, so that would include daughters too. But specifically, we know in the ancient world, it was passed down from father to son. So when you do some research, you guys are going to find out Alexander indeed did have a son, but his son was born after he died. So on his deathbed, he had no son to pass the kingdom on to, which is why he passed the kingdom on to his generals. Everybody got that? So the Bible is right. Let's continue. This is a book called The History of the Jews, from the time of Alexander the Great to the destruction of Jerusalem by Titus. It was written in 1854. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to read it, but it's going into the same thing that Josephus went into, how the Jews enlisted in the Greek army, right? But we're going to skip that for now. And you guys can see it right there where the arrow is right there. See what it says? It says, and many of them won by his kindness, enlisted as soldiers in his service and accompanied him on his expedition. So in the ancient world, the Jews served in everybody's army. We were in the Roman army. Many of us were in the Egyptian army. Yes, we were in the Egyptian army. We were in the Greek army. We were in all these armies. Here's another book called Military Service and the Interrogation of Jews in the Roman Empire. And this kind of goes into the same thing as well. You had a lot of Jews that were in the Greek and the Roman armies, all right? I'm going to kind of skip certain things just for the sake of time. So now we're going to go back to 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. So now we understand that history. Alexander united Greece under the Hellenic League, and he ruled. But then he died, and the kingdom was split again. Same way Greece was split before Alexander is the same way it was split after. Verse 2. And made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth. Right? And went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. Verse 4. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries, nations, and kings, who became tributaries unto him, and that includes us. That's what Josephus was talking about. That's why the priests asked if they could not pay tribute every seventh year. Verse 5. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, which were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. 4 primary guys was Seleucus, Lysimachus, Cassander, and Ptolemy. They're the ones that prevailed in the end. Just Lysimachus, Cassander, Ptolemy, and Seleucus. These are their statues or likenesses to a degree. What are the Syrian wars? The Syrian wars are 5 conflicts fought between the Hellenistic states, chiefly the Seleucid and Ptolemaic Egypt, right? Daniel 11 is based around the wars between Ptolemy and Seleucus. Yes, he parted his kingdom amongst these 4 guys, but these guys are really the primary ones the Bible focuses on. The Bible does not focus on these guys that much. They're briefly mentioned as 2 of the 4, but the Bible focuses heavily on these guys. And if you know anything about history, that's because you had lots of Jews living in Egypt, which is where Ptolemy was. Around the 1st century, There is said to have been over 1 million Jews in Egypt, at least, in the 1st century. This is outside the land. And then, of course, you had Seleucus that actually was ruling over Israel, and eventually his successor, Antiochus, right? So that's why they're the focus of the story in the Bible. And that's what Daniel 11 is going into. It's going into what is known as the Syrian Wars. First Maccabees 1, verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bare rule, everyone in his place. Verse 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, and so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Once this cancer started metastasizing, spreading and spreading and spreading, evils were multiplied upon the earth. It started with Alexander, then once he died and the kingdom split, it got progressively worse. When it says, so did their sons after them, here's the king's list for Seleucus, and here's the king's list for Ptolemy. Now, I want you guys to look at the Seleucid king's list particularly. You guys will see the difference between this king's list and the Ptolemy king's list. The Ptolemy king's list, everybody was named Ptolemy. They kept the name. But the Seleucid king's list, some of them were named Seleucus, some of them were named Antiochus or Antiochus. You even had somebody named Dimitri and Alexander as well, and Typhon. So when you read about these guys in history, you got to know which king's list they belong to, because these are the people that were ruling over us, the Seleucid line. So when we're reading about Antiochus in the book of 1 Maccabees chapter 1, Antiochus is from the Seleucid line. That's where he's from. Everybody got that? Okay. Verse 10. And there came out of them, what's the them? The Seleucid line. A wicked root, Antiochus, or some people say Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. Verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Verse 13. Then certain of the people were so forward, they were so far gone herein, that they went to the king, who gave them a license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. So the question now is, that is very, very vague. What are some of these ordinances of the heathen that we decided that we wanted to do? I have a book here called The Jews in Their Land by David Ben-Gurion. I want to go to page 129, right? And let's read what it says. It says, in Jerusalem, the opponents of Onias gained control of the temple, apparently as a result of the change, and took the earliest opportunity to introduce radical administrative reforms that would enable them to carry out their plans in the temple in Jerusalem and throughout Judea. Life in the capital was revolutionized completely, and alien manners. Let me read that fully. Life in the capital was revolutionized completely, and alien manners names and forms of behavior were introduced. For example, Joshua, the brother of Onias, and one of the leaders of the revolution, changed his name to Jason. What are we reading right here? What can we glean from that? It says that we saw it from the king to follow what the Greeks were doing. And the king gave us permission. So one of the first things that we wanted to do, we wanted to be like the Greeks. We got to get rid of these Hebrew names. So I go from being Joshua to being Jason, just so I can be just like the white man. I want you guys to understand what I'm telling you. Not what I'm telling you, what you guys are looking at. These are the Jews that are in the land. These are the Jews that are in the temple. And even they could not resist allowing themselves to be Hellenized. How much more the Jews that are in the diaspora? How much more far removed do you think they were? If alien manners are being done in Jerusalem, then you can be sure that alien manners and customs are being done by the Jews in the diaspora. That's where your Ephesians 2:11 and 12 comes from. We were aliens from the Commonwealth of Israel. It all makes sense when you put everything together. It all makes sense. Let's keep reading. It says, the revolution was designed principally to make Jerusalem resemble a Greek city. The right of citizenship was restricted to a very few. Only the children of the elect could be schooled in the new exclusive gymnasium and be coached there in athletics and wrestling. So the priority became to make Jerusalem a Greek city. You send your children to the gymnasium, that's the place of education. And there you teach your children about athletics and wrestling. That's like parents today. Putting their children into these sports and stuff like that. A lot of top elite basketball players. Sometimes if you are from a program, you have really elite talent, but you might be from a program in a city or a state where a lot of colleges don't recruit at your high school. And so if they identify a child that's in a school like that, they'll have a child transfer to a school that's more known to have its students recruited by top colleges. Right? This is what happens. The same thing is true of football. This is not new. We were doing this during the time of the Greeks. Same thing. Athletics and sports became super central to our customs. And athletics and sports are super central to our people today. We were good at it today. We're good at it today because we was good at it back then. Right? Okay, let's keep going. By the way, the word gymnasium, when you look it up in the online etymology dictionary, the word gymnasium means a place where people train naked. Now I'm watching on TikTok, and there's a lot of videos popping up on my timeline where people are complaining about a lot of the outfits that a lot of the women wear to the gym nowadays. And I must admit, like a lot of women are coming to the gym like pretty much almost naked. Like there's like no shame. The things that I see, it's crazy, right? They do have some, something on, but it's something that only your man or your husband or your boyfriend, or whatever, should be seeing. It shouldn't be, everybody in the gym shouldn't be seeing that, but that's, modesty is a lost thing. But in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, people literally train naked in the gym. That's why it was called a gym, gymnos. It means naked. So don't be surprised when you go to the gym today and people in there are half naked. That's the spirit. That's the spirit that it was created for. That spirit is still in there today in America, because America is nothing but ancient Rome, Greece, Babylon, and everything rolled up into one. So it makes sense. Verse 13 again, then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen, right? Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the custom of the heathen. And we can clearly see what that custom was, to run around with your manhood out while you're working out. And another thing, I'm just venting today. And another thing, it's increasingly, I go to the gym at 5 in the morning. Sometimes I get to even as early as 4:30. And I'm able to go into the locker room and, you know what I'm saying, do whatever I have to do in the locker room because I'm there so early. It's not a lot of people. But man, if you go to the gym anytime after 7 to 8 o'clock, you are guaranteed to see several men in the bathroom walking around freely with his swinging. It's ridiculous. I don't go in there. When I was a personal trainer years ago, I used to work at a gym chain here in New York City called Bally's Total Fitness. It was a chain all over the city. And I'm pretty sure any of you that go to the gym, you could ask personal trainers, they'll tell you the same thing. The sauna, that's Greece and Rome right there. The sauna, man, how many times did we get reports of 2 men in the sauna? We had to go and throw them out the gym. Like all the trainers had to come and go to the sauna and throw those guys out the gym. And the women be doing it in the sauna too. So it's definitely a place where all this freaky stuff goes on. That is true. That is 100% true. All right, let's continue. Verse number 15. And made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. That's our people. That is our people, right? Azab, you there?
Another one. I'm here.
Just hold me down for like 1 minute. I'll be right back.
I don't even know, man. This is the worst part to even come in, man. I don't go to the gym myself. I need to. You know, the scriptures talk about, health above all is more valuable than gold. I do need to work out, but I work out at home. I'm sorry. If I do go to the gym, you know what I mean? I might hit the treadmill, do the weights, and that's it, man. That other stuff is crazy. It's crazy. And like the priest said, it's nothing new under the sun because they've been doing it back then. A few slides ago, he mentioned the elites of our people, right? Try to be like the heathens, like the Greeks, and send their children to certain gyms and classes and teach them how to wrestle and do it. It's the same thing going on now because I went to Catholic school, right? And when I was younger, certain schools, they will offer certain programs that public schools don't have. And it's the same thing. But when you get into the programs and you look, you're like, yo, what the hell is this? Greco-Roman wrestling and all type of stuff. It's like, really? So your family got money and this is what they choose to do with it? Send you to a school where 2 dudes is rolling around on a mat? So, yeah, that's not our lot. The Lord didn't call us to do that. And, we got to stay focused with that, man.
Okay. The water. All right. We're going to watch this video real quick. Stop. You got the feedback when you. All right. So let's watch this video real quick.
The origin of the gym takes us back to ancient Greece. The word gymnasium derives from the ancient Greek word gymnos, which translates to naked. This is how the athletes like to train. The reason for this wasn't just to show off for aesthetic reasons. It's also thought this was done to pay tribute to the gods. Ancient Greek society at large placed a massive emphasis on physical health. A famous example being ancient Greek philosopher Socrates' quote, "No man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable. Gymnasiums themselves were state-run, open-air venues for men to train for warfare and prove their fitness amongst their peers. Women were banned from entry.
That's important to understand. Women were banned from entry. And you know what the men were doing in there. All right?
Of course isn't the case today, where most gyms have moved indoors and have air conditioning, plenty of cardio machines, free weights, and squat racks. Additionally, now there are way more acceptable methods to train.
Well, you guys get the idea. We're not going to belabor the point. It's not that important. When you go to 2 Maccabees chapter 4, which I'm not going to read all this, one of the patron deities of the gym of the ancient world was Hercules, and they used to make sacrifices to him, as you can see. Right? Hercules is one of the pagan gods associated with these gyms. There will be statues of Hercules in some of these gyms, of Hermes, and other Olympic gods in the gym, and sacrifices were also made to them, as you guys can see, 2 Maccabees chapter 4 and verse number 19. We're going to skip that for now, right? And these are some of the gods that might appear in the gym, the gods that were dealing with, physical sports, so forth and so on. These guys would be in the gym, right?
Hey, Slaki, while you're talking about pagan gods or whatnot, I believe it was 1 Maccabees 3 or 4 when it says that after they desecrated the temple, bro, the altar of the abomination of desolation, was that the Roman god? Was that the Greek god? Forgot the name.
It's coming up.
Okay. Because they did put a statue up, and you was talking about the statues they put up, so that's why I just drew the correlation right there.
Yeah, it was Zeus. They put a statue of Zeus up. That's coming up.
Zeus, exactly, and Zeus is Satan. Salaki.
We're going to pick it up from verse number 17. Wherefore, talking about Antiochus, he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. So these are these guys fighting each other. Alexander just united everybody, right? Ruled for 12 years. And as soon as he dies, everybody's divided and fighting against each other again. Satan divided against Satan, right? Verse 18, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt, but Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Verse 19, thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. Verse 20, and after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. And he entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlesticks of light and the vessels thereof, and the table of the showbread and the pouring vessels and the vials and the censers of gold and the veil and the crown and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all of which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having a great massacre, and spoke very proudly. Verse 25, therefore there was a great mourning in Israel in every place where they were. Verse 26, so that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of the woman was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. Verse 28, the land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. Sounds just like a white man. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore, and destroyed much of Israel, much of the people of Israel. Verse 31. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle. Then builded the city of David with a great strong wall with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They stored it also with armor and victuals, and when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, so they became a snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary and the evil adversary of Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers and became strange to those that were born in her and of her own children. Like when Israel would come back, the city didn't look anything like it looked when we were controlling it. That's how much it changed. Verse 39, her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, and her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Verse 41, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Verse 43 is key. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. A lot of Israelites consented to this religion and sacrificed unto idols. Then you go to the New Testament, you read in the book of Corinthians about those Israelites or those people in Corinth that were led away to dumb idols. That's our people. That's us. A lot of Israelites consented to what the Greeks were doing, and they sacrificed unto the idols. This is Israelites voluntarily Hellenizing. And then the ones that did not do it voluntarily, as we're going to read, were forced to Hellenize. First Maccabees 1 verse 16. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt that he might have the dominion of two realms. So Antiochus said, you know what? Remember, Seleucus, his forefather, went to war with Antigonus and took over Antigonus's lot that he had, right? He absorbed it. So Antiochus knows this history. He's like, you know what? My great-granddad did that. I want to do that too. I'm about to go into Egypt and take that from Ptolemy. That's what I'm going to do. Oops, what did I do? Give me 1 second real quick. I think somebody's, give me 1 second, guys. I'm trying to see something.
It's crazy. Why are you looking at that? When you read verse 11, it says that in those days went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many. So in the beginning, you had men from Israel, got into people's ear and persuaded them and say, let us go make a covenant with the heathen. So you got people who persuaded them. But after a period of time, when you jump down to where you at priests, was it 43? Yeah. It said they consented after a while.
Yeah.
So it was like a concerted effort. First, people within the community was like, yo, maybe we should rock with these heathens. You know what I mean? Because look, back then we ain't had nothing, and since we not following them, look, our times is hard. And then after a while, people just said, you know what, to hell with it. So it's like a step-by-step process to get us to fall, and it's still going on to this day, because you have people within the black community who say, nah, we ain't Israelites, we just regular niggas. Let's just form a league. Let's just be with everybody else. And the same thing happened all over again. I'll land.
And the black folks like, let's join MAGA. Let's get yeah. Verse number 44. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days. Right? I want to show you guys something. Verse 45. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days. 46. And pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. Verse 47. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. So you had Israelites that would leave their children uncircumcised. This is hundreds of years before the Apostle Paul is writing his epistles, speaking about circumcision and uncircumcision. This is where it started. Verse 49, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. So that first generation that made their children uncircumcised and started following after the customs of the heathen, they didn't forget their laws. They made a choice and said, you know what? We're not going to keep our laws. But then they taught that to their children. And those children taught it to their children. And after a few generations, the end of that is what? Now that second, third generation knows nothing about being Israelites no more. That's the end outcome that they wanted. That's the idea. Verse 50, and whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said, he should die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Verse 52, then many of the people were gathered unto them, to it everyone forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land and drove the Israelites into secret places. So we had to go and hide out. If you've been here the whole time on this lesson, you see the same thing in Rome. I showed you guys that, where we had to go and hide it in the catacombs. It's like history repeats itself over and over and over again. And guess what? In this day and time, when Esau really comes down, some brothers and sisters are going to have to go into hiding again too. Verse 53, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor. Now the 15th day of the month Casleu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar and builded altars, idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side. So this goes into what Elder Zahab was asking about. What is this abomination of desolation that they set up on the altar? So we're back in his book called The Jews and Their Land by David Ben-Gurion. We are on page 132. And this is what it says. It says, the Seleucid military, remember Antiochus is from the Seleucid line. The Seleucid military measures led finally to sacrilege. On the 25th of the Hebrew month of Kislev, 167 BCE, an abomination of desolation was placed on the altar of the temple in the Lord's sanctuary in holy Jerusalem. The graven image of an earthbound god of the skies, Zeus, was set up, and the heathens of the empire came to pay homage to it. So they set Zeus up on the altar, and then you had these heathens that would come there and pay homage to Zeus that was on our altar. This is from the Jewish Encyclopedia, right? This is what it says. It says, abomination of desolation was set up on the altar of burnt offering in the, whatever that says, and the Jews required to make obeisance to it. This was probably the Olympian Zeus or Baal. Zeus and Baal, by the way, guys, is the same. Or Shaman. Zeus and Baal is the same, just so you guys know. Right? So they set up the abomination of desolation, which was a statue of Zeus on the altar. Right? Zeus was a remix of ancient thunder gods, lightning gods. Right? You had in Akkad, you had Bel. The Canaanites had Baal or Hadad. The Egyptians had Set. The Hurrians had Aplu. Right? And the Greeks had Zeus, and the Romans had Jupiter, and the Norse had Thor. It's all the same guy. It's all the same guy. Verse 56. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. And whosoever was found with the book of the testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put to death. Thus did they, by their authority, unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the city. So they would do raids and come in and see if you had the book of the law in your possession. Were you circumcising your children? And if you were, you were put to death. Verse 59. Now the 25th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. And at that time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. So you had certain sisters that were heroic. They weren't afraid. And they circumcised their children anyway. And they paid the ultimate price the same way the men were. Look at this, verse 61. And they hanged the infants about their necks and rifled their houses and slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit, many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore, they rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died, and there was great wrath upon Israel. That's the end of chapter 1, picking it up at chapter 2. And in those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Johanan, called Caddis, and Simon, called Thasai, Judas, who was called Maccabeus, and Eleazar, called Avaron, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphis. So this is the rise of the Maccabees. The Most High is going to use them to gain a hold of our temple again that had been desecrated by the heathens, and they're going to rededicate the temple back to the Most High heroically. That's what this holy day is about. Holy days always have meaning. That's what I said at the beginning of the class. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to stop there. I'm going to stop there for now. Let me stop sharing my screen for 1 second. And what I want to show you guys is this right here. So again, this evening at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Elder Zahab is going to be teaching the entirety of the holy day. So he's going to go from chapter 1 all the way to us rededicating the temple. So brothers and sisters, make sure you guys come back and be a part of the class that goes on at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if it be the Most High's will. I will definitely, let me see, how, Zahab, you're doing it on what channel? What channel are you doing it on?
Lions of Israel class of Maccabees.
Okay, so I'll create a link. I'll talk to you about it after class, and I'll make sure the link is available for everybody to come on in at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If it be the Most High's will. I just want to go over a couple of announcements real quick, and then I'll allow Zahab to have the last word. So we're going to talk about this every week until the time comes. The Academy is coming on January the 4th. All right. Now I know there was a mix-up in the emails. The original flyer, the email that was on there was wrong, but the email that you guys are seeing now is correct. The admin for the Academy, I believe, has already been sending emails out to people that have applied for the Academy. So you guys need to check your emails. The admin has been reaching out to you guys. So please check your emails for instructions on what to do. All right. If you haven't got the email already, just email us again and let us know, hey, you know what? I didn't get anything yet. I didn't get any response yet, so forth and so on. Give her a few days. I would say maybe by the middle of next week, if you guys don't get any correspondence, then you can reach out to us again and let us know that you haven't received any correspondence, right? But we're starting on January the 4th, and we're going to, go into a lot of stuff, man. I look forward to seeing all you brothers and sisters there. And at Passover 2026, we're going to be also celebrating the 20th anniversary of Lions of Israel. So we're going to have a good time, and especially those of you guys that are in the academy and might be thinking about joining the camp. We'd love to see you guys at Passover this year, which is going to be in the city of Newark, New Jersey, April 1st, 2026. I'm going to put the banner back on before I leave. The email that you guys should be emailing should be loigatherings@gmail.com. You guys are going to see it going across at the bottom of the screen. It's loigatherings@gmail.com. If you plan on attending, you have to email us and let us know. The main thing we need from you is the head count as to how many people are coming, and then we'll correspond with you exactly, what it is and how much we're going to charge for, coming to the Passover. And yes, we're going to charge, because if you haven't brought a whole lamb lately, then you don't understand how expensive Passover is. Every year, the price of lamb goes through the freaking roof. And we want to make sure that everybody that comes is allowed to have some Passover lamb. There's provisions for everybody. So, and I think we have, as far as what we ask brothers and sisters to do, I think we have one of the most reasonable prices that we tell brothers and sisters for coming to Passover. So it's not going to be anything crazy. I understand the economy is messed up and a whole bunch of things is going on, but at the end of the day, we definitely are going to need your assistance if you're coming, because things are very, very expensive. All right. I think that is pretty much it for me. I can't think of anything else at the moment. So Zahab, if you have anything that you want to say, the floor is yours. A lot of static. If whatever's by your face, you have a lot of static every time you go mute. So be careful.
Mike, how about now? You can hear me?
Yeah.
Is it better?
Yeah, it's better. It's better now. It's better now.
Hey, beautiful class. So I won't be long-winded. Beautiful class, and you said the right thing. That's each of these high holy days have a meaning, And to sum it up short, for me, I would say, and go back to verse 62, First Maccabees 1 and 62. That's what sums it up for me, right? Was it says, verse 62, howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. I think that's what we should take away, right? Verse 63, wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats. We should pray for that spirit. Do we all have that spirit? Not all of us. I might say I have that spirit at the last minute. I might not. So I'm not going to boast and say like that. We should all pray for the spirit that the Lord put on Mattathias, right? We should all pray for that spirit. So that if the time comes, you're saying to yourself, nah, I'm going to be fully resolved not to conform and give in to whatever it is that's coming. And we already know trouble is always going to be here, but
Yes, I don't know what you're doing, what you have going on there, but you're terrible.
Can you hear me now, priest?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, brothers and sisters, I'm just going to be short-winded. We just got to pray for the Most High, right? And ask him to keep us in the spirit. That's all. Tune in later on. We'll go over it. Again, we're not going to go into the maps and stuff like what priest's going into, but we're going into the spirit of what it is. So I hope to see y'all there. Most High bless. Shalom.
Come. All right, all praise to the Most High. I appreciate all you brothers and sisters for being here as always. We love y'all. Again, as he said, tune in at about 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll share the link on my Facebook page. I'll share the link on all the Telegram groups, etc., etc. If you don't see any of the links, just check back in with us at 7 o'clock this evening, and you'll see the classes live and come and fellowship with us. Right, it's your brother Priest Daniel, represent Lions of Israel, Maccabees TV. We love y'all. Most High Allah will be back here again next week, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channels, please do. And I'm out of here. Shalom, y'all. We send them prayers up. And then the blessings come down. Yeah. Let's get it. I pray material things never blind me. I pray all this fake love will never find me. I pray I don't have fear for any other man. What I pray for the most is that you understand. I pray material things never blind me. I pray all this fake love will never find me. I pray I don't have fear for any other man. And what I pray for the most is that you understand. If you say you're a king, you gotta have the standards. I say that I pray, but I don't have the answers. Don't know the way, then prayer has to come in. It's okay to pray and don't ask for nothing. Ready for war, but I pray for peace. Know the book says, don't let your prayers cease. Pray for the strength to pray for enemies. Pray to forget these childhood memories. Put on these size 11s, it's the wrong shoes any day. Cowboys team, man, you're gonna lose anyway. Don't come for me, sorry, I don't got a team. Can't be MLK if I never said I got a dream. I pray to Yahweh that he bless you. I pray that you pass, cause life will test you. I pray on the days that things are stressful. Remember, Israel to God is something special. I pray material things never blind me. I pray all this fake love will never find me. I pray I don't have fear for any other man. What I pray for the most is that you understand. I pray material things never blind me. I pray all this fake love will never find me. I pray I don't have fear for any other man. And what I pray for the most is that you understand. Yahweh Shah came so he could feed his people. Solomon prayed that he could lead his people. Wise as he was, he didn't see the evil. I pray for the day Yahweh frees the people. Babylon the Great breaking all walls down. Kanye's song, When It All Falls Down. I pray every day, that's a part of me, that we all celebrate like classic R&B. Cool in this gang, there's so many speakers. I pray that you learn, we have so many teachers. I pray for the kingdom, cause it needs to come. I pray for Isaiah 14:1. Always be thankful, what my lady said. Don't ask for much, just my daily bread. I pray on the days that things are stressful. Remember, Israel to God is something special. I pray material things never blind me. I pray all this fake love will never find me. I pray I don't have fear for any other man. What I pray for the most is that you understand. I pray material things never blind me. I pray all this fake love will never find me. I pray I don't have fear for any other man. And what I pray for the most is that you understand. We send the prayers up, and then the blessings come down. Prayer's y'all weapon, y'all. Make sure you pray every single day. Don't just ask for things, but pray to the Most High to deliver us.